Hello everyone! Today we're going to be hunting for the turn 3 win in Bloomburrow Standard. With the set rotation, everyone's taking a look at what the new best deck in the format would be, and this right here is a very strong contender. As an added bonus, it's also fairly inexpensive in terms of wildcards, so I would definitely recommend this deck if you're looking to do some early climbing in the season. Let me go ahead and talk through some of our choices here. Deck list is down in the description if you want to skip over this and copy the deck yourself, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we have going on. So Cacophony Scamp and Heartfire Hero are both really powerful for us in their death effects. When it dies, it can deal damage equal to its power to our opponent. Same thing for the Scamp. The Scamp, we can sacrifice it when it deals combat damage to a player to get that trigger. Heartfire Hero is going to need to die in a more natural way, or we can go ahead and do a little bit of our combat shenanigans to get that to happen. But Heartfire Hero is one of the new mice in the set, and this is a very powerful creature in the Prowess Architect. Whenever it gets targeted by a spell or ability we control, we get to put a +1/+1 counter on it once each turn, which is going to be a great way to get some extra damage through. We also have Monastery Swiftspear. This is another Prowess and Hasty creature, and then the all-star of the deck, the Slickshot Show-Off. This guy having both flying and haste and letting us plot it is going to be how we set up a lot of those early game wins. Now, in addition to that, we do have some other creatures that are worth taking a look at. Emberheart Challenger is another new addition. Once again, we have a Valiant ability here, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, we can exile the top card of our library and play it until the end of our next turn. So this is a great way to get a little bit of extra value in the late game. Of course, being a hasty prowess creature is very strong. We also have 2 copies of Fugitive Codebreaker here. If we go ahead and disguise it, and then we flip it with a bunch of instants and sorceries in our graveyards, this is a great way to get some extra cards in the late game if we don't manage to get that early win. Now, next up, some of our prowess enablers. We have Dreadmaw's Ire here for +2/+2 and Trample. Trample is going to help us get through blockers, which I really like to see in this deck. Here, we have +2/+0 and Haste. This is the Haste isn't going to be as useful on anything other than the Cacophony Scamp or the Heartfire Hero, but nonetheless, we still like to see it, and it gives us the added bonus of getting that 2/2 Detective when that creature dies. Then we have Mirren Banesplitter here. This is Flash, so we can go ahead and get it out at instant speed. And of course, when it enters, we're going to go and attach it to a creature. It's going to give us some of that recurring value here with the +2/+0. But really, we're not looking to be equipping this. This is just going to be some extra damage for us. And then Monstrous Rage, which is the staple here. Gives +2/+0. It also adds that monster roll token for an extra +1/+1, so this is a great way to pump out some extra damage. And the last cards I want to talk about are our kind of combo condition and a little bit of the protection that we have in this deck. So Callous Sellsword, we're going to be wanting to use Burn Together, the Sorcery Adventure, to fling one of our creatures at our opponent. Notably, if Slickshot gets big enough, we can swing in for combat damage with haste and then fling it at our opponent, deal double 10 damage, and kill our opponent right there if we have that. And then with something like a Cacophony Scamp or the Heartfire Hero, we can take advantage of that death trigger in addition to the damage that we'll deal with that fling type ability. Now, because I do think this archetype is so powerful, we are including 2 copies of Lightning Strike instead of an additional buff spell or some way of getting some extra cards in the late game. I just really want to be able to ping down a Slickshot's Show-Off or something else that our opponent plays to make sure that we have a little bit of protection against our opponent playing aggro and beating us on the curve, and we can of course also use this to go face and deal a little bit of extra damage. Now, if you are on a tight budget, I see no reason to really include these dual lands with the Blackcleave Cliffs and the Sulphurous Springs, other than to be able to actually cast Callous Sellsword as a creature. But again, a lot of the time, we're going to be using this for its Sorcery Adventure more so than using it as a creature. So if you are on a strict budget and you only have a couple of rare wildcards to spend, definitely I'd feel fine running this with only the mountains. But I would recommend getting these lands, since lands are a great utility choice, regardless of the deck that you're playing. Yeah, if you guys have been enjoying my videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest content. And if you do enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like. Let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, so we've got our opponent going first here. This looks like a fine starting hand, though. Swiftspear and the Challenger are both good for us. Draw into another challenger. Swing out for 1. Now, earlier when I was going through this deck, I did mention that there are a couple ways to make this even more budget-friendly. I know if you stay tuned till the end of the video, I can show you how we can get this deck's cost down to just 4 rare wildcards. We can get rid of these challengers, replace them with another spell. In the meantime, no blocks, so let's go ahead. Go here. Let's go Monstrous Rage. And there's 8 damage. I mean, a really strong turn 2 for us. But yeah, there are ways that we can cut down on the wild cards you need so you can start playing this deck, even if you don't have them, and if you're on a strict budget. Go ahead and skip to the end of the video if you want to see that, or at least watch through until the end. We lose our Swift Spear here, that's fine. We have a Challenger as another Prowess creature. So swing out there, another 2 damage. But yeah, over at the end of the video, I'll kind of show you what this deck looks like if you make some of those budget cuts, and that might help you just kind of get started in ranked without investing all of your wild cards. Okay, Blightbelly Rat. So as it currently stands, I think we're just going to go ahead and swing out here. Opponent may have removal. So let's attack. Okay. Now we're going to use this here. Get ourselves a Prowess trigger. Look at the top card. Depending on what they have removal-wise. Yeah, okay. Return this guy to our hand. I'm actually okay with that. If we get a land off that trigger, that would be good. But Heartfire Hero, also acceptable. So we'll just play this guy up. So now we do want to be a little wary of bounce spells. Bounce spells are not fantastic for us. But 1 more land on our next turn, and we're going to be in a really good spot with both Rage, both of our Rages, and the Callous Sellsword. Our opponent only with 9 life left. So this is +3, 4. So we're looking at 7. Honestly, not bad. Even with just Monstrous Rage, we're going to be in a good spot. But instead, they killed a Heartfire Hero, which is fine. Again, we're an aggressive deck, so I'm not too concerned about the poison counters. Let's go for the Challenger here. Maybe there's a counterspell. But there isn't. We're going to go ahead and attack now. And I'm going to go ahead, use this. Get ourselves a Prowess trigger, get ourselves a little bit more damage. Sure, Serum Snare, send it back. Yeah, Cacophony Scamp is gone in exile, that's fine. So next turn, Challenger. We go Monstrous Rage, maybe. Yeah, so Challenger. I'm going to use Monstrous Rage right now. And we attack for 6. Yep. We do get the block there. And next turn, we have the win. Yep, 8. They're going to get up to 9 attacking with Blightbelly Rat. Or maybe they won't. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just attack our opponent here. Yep, they're going to block with the Blightbelly Rat. Proliferate up to 8. And then we're just going to go ahead and kill our opponent. Prowess trigger brings us up to 4. Yeah, we've got it. Alright, so we've got our opponent going first here. This isn't a terrible starting hand. I do think we want to push for more of a combo win here. I am going to keep this, though. Get rid of that 3rd land. Again, this deck runs very light in terms of its lands. So I think here we are gonna start off with Swift Spear. Get some free damage. Next turn, we can go Hero and the Felonious Rage. Yep, so let's go ahead and play this out. We get a +1/+1 counter. We have a Prowess trigger. Again, if they block, we get rid of their Beast Color and deal 4 damage to them anyway, so I think this is looking pretty good. Yep. And of course we have our Detective token as well. Okay, Landfall trigger. Not too concerned here. I think we're just gonna swing out, see if our opponent blocks. Yep. Alright, so let's go Dreadmaw's Ire there. That way we can kill Bill. And go Monstrous Rage, another Prowess trigger. Got our opponent down at 6 now. This is looking really good with Emberheart Challenger. If they can't get a blocker, I mean, we just immediately have a win there. We could also go Swift Spear. Okay. Fine by me. Again, having a blocker won't matter too much. Yeah, so let's just go ahead, play out the Emberheart Challenger, swing here. We got 4 damage in on our opponent. Yep. Down to 2. So they'll need another blocker. And most of our draws next turn should be able to secure us the game here. Yep, map token, sure. Kinda honestly want to see Pelucranos come down, and then maybe if they crack the map. I mean, as soon as they tap out, we do have the game. Second Emberheart Challenger makes it so that way we can swing through 2 blockers and get that last 2 damage. I don't really want to see any life gain here. Okay, that's fine. Land. Sure. Yeah. Alright, well, let's go Emberheart Challenger. And we've got it. Alright, so we've got our opponent going first this time around. I like the Heartfire Hero, but this is still a little bit of a slow start. I'm going to take a mulligan here. Alright. We'll keep these 6. I'm going to drop one of the challengers. This is equally slow. Gonna start with the Cliffs. It looks like we might be looking at a mirror matchup as well. Okay, sure. So we'll take 5 damage here. Potentially more. Yeah, so definitely a mirror matchup. I mean, we'll take 7, that's fine. I'm actually gonna play this a little... I'm gonna hold up Lightning Strike. We're not gonna use this right now. We're gonna play a little defensively here. This is why we're including Lightning Strike in the deck. Okay, Slickshot Show Off, sure. Actually, we'll just pass. Pass on this. Okay. Put our own Show Off. Plotted. Now, our opponent could very likely kill us here, but I'm not thinking that's going to happen. We're looking at potentially 9 damage. Okay. So, we're going to cast our own Flickshot Show Off. We're going to cast Felonious Rage. We're going to cast Monstrous Rage. That gives us our 10 damage. Swing in for 10. And go ahead and fling our Slick Shot at our opponent, and we've got it. Alright, so we've got our opponent going first here, but honestly a pretty strong hand. So I think we're going to go ahead and keep this. Right now, as it stands, we're going to be looking to plot our Flick Shot, get some extra value out of it there. With our Bane Splitter and the Felonious Rage, that's going to put us in a really good spot. We have a turn 1 play now as well with Heartfire Hero. Now you could make a case for putting off plotting the Slick Shot. That might be something we do. I am curious as to what deck our opponent's on. Again, right now we really don't want our opponent interacting with our early game since we are investing fairly heavily into our creatures. I will say the amount of time that our opponent is taking to think about their turns makes me at least think that they're looking at some sort of control deck. Alright, yeah, Mirrex, so let's go Cliffs. Back here. Go ahead, attach this. Go ahead, attach another one. 6 damage. And honestly, okay, tap land is really good for us. I'm almost wondering if we don't even go for the Slick Shot show-off here, and we'll just swing. And pump our Heartfire Hero. Get our opponent down to 3. Now also, if Heartfire Hero dies, it'll let us deal 7 damage to our opponent. So at this point, they need to have exile removal. Okay, yep. That's completely fine, but with 2 life, all we have to do is go ahead and play out our Codebreaker. Swing for 2, and we've got it. Alright, well this looks like we're off to a pretty good start, especially being on the play. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. It is a little slow, but we have the beginnings of what's going to be a very strong combo win for us. Okay, Slick Shot show off. Now this is great. It looks like we are going to be able to go for the turn 3 here. I really want our opponent to tap down. Oh, perfect. So that's the game. I mean, right there. This is why I love playing this specific deck. Let's go Slick Shot show off. Let's go Monstrous Rage here. Attack. Now that we're attacking, we give the +2/+2. We've got our 10. As an added kicker, we get to destroy their creature, and of course, we're gonna just ping our opponent's face for another 10, and that's a turn 3 victory. Alright, so we've got our opponent going first this time. I don't mind this hand, but I am gonna mulligan here. I like this just a little bit better. We're gonna keep... I think I'm actually gonna bottom the Emberheart Challenger here, because we are gonna be going all in on the Slick Shot plan. If we can find our card to let us fling the show off, that's gonna put us in a really strong spot. If not, Cacophony Scamp is gonna be really solid for us as well. Alright, yeah, our opponent's playing a deck that might be a little too slow to deal with what we're trying to do here. So let's go ahead, attack. Actually, I think I'm gonna save Monstrous Rage. And we're gonna deal our 5 damage here. I'm not gonna sack the Cacophony Scamp. We do want him to hit one more time. Now next turn, we have Show Off and Monstrous Rage. Alright, so let's go Flick Shot, Show Off. We swing out. Alright. No blocks out of our opponent. And I don't understand why they wouldn't block there. We are gonna sacrifice the Cacophony Scamp, 6 damage to their face, and we've got the win. Alright, now we are going first here. I'm gonna keep this opening hand. Now, just taking a look at what we have here, I think I start by playing out Cacophony Scamp here. We lose out on 1 damage from the Swift Spear turn 1, but we'll easily trade that in for some more damage next turn. Alright, Cavern on the Lizard, so that's pretty fun for our opponent. Alright, Swift Spear. Swing out here. Okay, no blocks. So I think we just go Monstrous Rage on the Scamp. Not gonna sacrifice it yet. Now if we can find 1 more land next turn, I'm gonna feel really happy with where we're at. I mean, one more land and we should just be able to win on our next turn. Alright. That's fine. Opponent's tapped down. Okay, so we don't find the land. Let's think really quick here. We can get... This is another 4 damage with the Swift Spear. 6. No, we're not quite there yet. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and plot the Slickshot Show Off and swing for 2 with the Cacophony Scamp. Now, it would have been a much better choice to not plot before we attack. That's a little bit of a misplay on my part, but I don't think it's gonna make a difference in the end. Yeah, our opponent's just gonna be pinging us for a little bit more. We're gonna be swinging for a ton of damage next turn. I want to see them tap down, play out another Blizzard or something. Yep. Perfect. Yeah, they don't have a way of blocking the Slick Shot. Again, 1 land, we win for sure. -1. Alright, so that's fine. Again, just want to see a land here. We do also have to remember that Burn Together does trigger Prowess. Or at least in Slickshot's case, what is not quite Prowess. Let's go here. Buff this guy. Alright, so we attack here. We could use the Dreadmaw's Ire, bring this up to 10. We'd be 1 shy, so instead we're just gonna let this go through. Yeah. Because, again, this last Prowess trigger that we get off the cast of the spell before it deals damage is going to give us everything we need. Alright, so as we were able to see there, this deck is able to really quickly push out some wins for us, which is a great way to climb the ranked ladder. Now, one of the big weaknesses of this deck, though, is we invest very heavily in the creatures that are in the deck. So if our opponent has adequate removal, if they can gain enough life to functionally push us out of the game, right, we're not going to really be able to come back, at least not that well. So because of that, I would say focus on quick wins, have aggressive early game mulligans to make sure that your starting hand is good and you're not missing out on potential value in those early turns. And if your opponent can beat you, they will beat you. Just queue into the next game. It's only going to take about 3 minutes to get through most games anyway. So this is a great way to kind of push through easy ways to win. Now, I did mention earlier in the video that I had a couple of tips for how to make this deck more budget friendly. And I would say that you could probably cut this deck down to only 4 rare wild cards, but then you do want to keep all the common and uncommons at their core. So let me just talk about what we can do to make this deck budget, right? So the Slick Shot show off, this has to stay in your deck, right? This is the main component. If you only had 4 rare wild cards, this is where you spend them. This is a great value card. Keep that in your deck. But there might be some other substitutions that you can make that could be a little bit better. So Fugitive Codebreaker here. This is great. It's a prowess creature. We like having creatures to deal more damage, but you could potentially replace him with a Blazing Crescendo, right? So Blazing Crescendo is going to give target creature +3/+1, so this is going to be a bigger buff spell, and you get to exile the top card of your library and play it until the end of your next turn. That exile effect to play a card could be good, and it kind of compensates for the card draw that you would have got if you flipped the Codebreaker. Again, you're kind of lacking a body, so you have the option of not being as resilient to your opponent's removal, but we're looking for quick wins anyway. The other thing is the Emberheart Challenger. Again, I would say that this is a creature that you don't want to replace, so definitely focus on getting that in the deck quickly. But if you need to, I would just replace it with 2 copies of Shock, right? Shock, 2 damage to any target. It's going to get you prowess triggers. You can use it to interact with your opponent's board a little bit more, and this does bring you closer to the standard mono-red prowess deck. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the substitution, but I do think you want to work on getting the wild cards for that. Last thing, like I'd mentioned very early in the video, is when we're looking at our lands, Blackcleave Cliffs and Sulphurous Springs, they're only in this deck so that we could potentially play the Callous Sellsword. Now, do we actually want to play him most games? I'd say no. The games in which playing him out matters are games that are very close, so if you really are on a tight budget, I would just replace all 6 of those wild cards with normal mountains like you already have, and that's a great way to take this deck and make it a little bit more budget. So here, let me just go ahead, subtract the cards that we got rid of, pull these guys back over, and this is what we are looking at for our budget deck if you go ahead and parse everything back down to make it just a little bit easier on the wild cards. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like. And if you have any ideas for another deck that you'd like to see me play, why don't you let me know in a comment down below. See you all next time.